Well, welcome to the show. I'm Brandon.
I'm Corey, and this is Our View from the Bench.
Welcome back, Benchwarmers. We started our MLB Division Winner Prediction Series by giving out our picks for the West and Central Divisions.
Now we wrap up the series by ending here with the AL and NL East divisions. I'm Corey, left field foul ball boy.
And I'm Brendan, Clubhouse Spittoon Cleaner, and this is Our View from the Bench. Before we get started, if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss any one of our new episodes.
And if you could do us a favor, please, if you like what you see here, please don't forget to smash that like button.
Smash it for us. It's free, and it helps us out probably a lot more than you think. Okay, so we've gotten through pretty much all of them. We've moved our way from the West Coast, which is the best coast, of course,
Hell yeah.
through the farmland areas of the Central, and now we are on the East Coast. If you've missed any of the previous episodes, make sure you go check out those. But what we're doing here is what we're going to do is take the standings as they were from each division last year and go in reverse order of them and give a prediction, kind of a little synopsis about what we think of the team, and then a prediction of where they're going to fall in the standings in each specific division this year. So for this AL East one, let's start with the last place team, which unfortunately, at least for myself, was the Boston Red Sox. So Corey, how do you see Boston faring this year? Are they getting any better than last?
You know, it's crazy to think Boston was so good for so long, for like the last 15 plus years, and now to finish last place last year is kind of a strange thing to even say out loud. But to answer your question, no, I don't have them doing much better this year, actually.
All right.
We have them staying at the bottom, unfortunately, and finishing last. I think the biggest thing is they just didn't go out and get anybody to get better, really.
Right.
Like, they're kind of stuck with the same roster. They did go out and get Lucas Giolito, who last year at the trade deadline, everybody wanted from the White Sox. And
That's
then the
true.
Angels got him, and he did nothing. It was terrible.
Well, because it was the Angels.
Yeah, true. Good point. And then the Red Sox went out and signed him to, I think, like a 3 or 4 year deal for some pretty significant amount of money. And then he got hurt in spring training and is out for the year with Tommy John. So,
okay. Oh, there goes that.
Yeah, not really a whole lot to work with there. Now, not that Chris Sale was healthy the last few years in Boston, but they did trade him to Atlanta, so he's no longer here. And I don't even know who any of their pitchers are. I feel like they're just basically leaning on a bunch of young guys. And one of the problems is, if you think about it, I feel bad for Red Sox fans, especially because every time Mookie hits another home run for the Dodgers, they just have to be thinking, why did we trade that guy? Why didn't we just sign him to a long-term deal?
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I mean, this is my favorite team in the division. And I do believe, again, that unfortunately with you, they're going to repeat last year's feat of obtaining 5th in the East as well. That Mookie one is pretty rough, dude, because there wasn't any problems. He wasn't demanding a trade. He wasn't a problem in the clubhouse. He wasn't, not hitting or not fielding. Like maybe he caused a lot of errors. And you're like, oh, man, I don't know if we can keep this guy. Or, dude, he's been in a slump for the whole year, is batting 100. No, none of those things were true. He literally was an MVP. And then you say, you know what? We don't like MVPs on our team. We're going to go ahead and ship this guy out for a box of crayons and a half-used thing of toothpicks. And that's exactly what they got for it. This division itself is stacked. I'm not saying that they would compete in others, maybe besides the AL Central, but the division is really stacked. But kind of like to your point, the roster is super depleted from those World Series or at least deep playoff runs that they had when they were, a few years ago. I mean, really all they've got is Trevor Story and Tristan Casas.
And
Rafael Devers is their best player, but like that, who? Their pitching is extremely light. I mean, unless you include Kenley Jansen, who is honestly really known to blow saves.
Dude, that's another
I'm with you,
former
man.
Dodger. Jansen is like, I think if I remember right, he's either number 1 or number 2 in active career save leaders, like of active pitchers at this time in the league, which is awesome. I know he's got a lot of saves, but even when he did get a lot of those saves as a Dodger, like none of them were easy. It seemed like every time he'd go out with a 3-run lead, he'd give up one, there'd be 2 guys on base, and he'd finally get out of it. Like it was always a nervous work it and figure out what we're going to, to the point that even when the Dodgers won the World Series in 2020, he didn't close out the game. They put in Julio Urias to close out as a closer, even though he's a starter. So they didn't even trust their best closer, as far as numbers will tell you, to close out the most important games for a World Series title. So, and Jansen's gotten older. He went to Atlanta, I think, after he left the Dodgers. He did okay, and now he's in Boston, and he's just done okay. But if you're the Red Sox and you're not winning a lot of games going into the ninth, how many opportunities is he really going to have to even make some saves? So I don't know what they're expecting to get out of him at this point. So, and to your point, there's no other pitching on this team. There's
I don't know
nothing.
anybody. I know their closer. That's all I know. Their closer.
Yeah,
Well, who's going to
yeah,
start and pitch the first 8 innings?
exactly. And to your point, also the left field and the infield, the left side of the infield, I should say, with Story at short and Rafael Devers. Like Story is great when he's healthy and plays, and he's been injury plagued ever since he got to Boston.
And he was
And
never the same
Devers,
guy he was in Colorado.
no, absolutely not. And Devers is great, but if there's nobody in front of him on the lineup to get on base, is he just going to hit a bunch of solo shots and
Yeah, right.
matter? Like
Or have doubles, but since no one's on, those don't count as RBIs, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, ghost runners don't exist in the MLB like we did when we were kids playing baseball in the street.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
I know. Hey, when you run out of players, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
yeah, and you can't do that here. And I just, yeah, the Red Sox are going to be in last. I don't see how anybody's going to convince me anything otherwise, unless somehow this team comes out and they're all the young guys just pop at the same time. But I just, the way the ownership has gone about putting this team together, I don't see that being the case.
Yeah, I don't know what they're waiting for because it's not like they have a bunch of big name people that they're paying money to. They don't have a Mookie Betts on contract. They don't have a Chris Sale on contract. They don't have Nathan Eovaldi. They have a lot of great players that they've had, but none of them are on big contracts. So where are you spending your money? And if we really look at the finances, at least historically, of the Red Sox, they're one of the sure, based on name and a lot of more recent history, they're one of those franchises that can spend money. Sure, maybe
Yeah.
not on the Dodgers or the Yankees level, but they're not sitting here like the A's or the Diamondbacks trying to pinch pennies and see what's going to happen. No, they've got cash to spend. They're one of the most prominent franchises in Major League Baseball, and they just have nothing. I'm sorry, Loft, but your team just ain't it right now.
Yeah, they're definitely in the middle of a rebuild. It's going to be a long, long year for them. Unfortunately, I feel bad for those fans.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got them coming in last. This one is a little bit surprising and is probably ready for a big turnaround. At least I think both of us have them doing better than they did last year. In fourth place last year, surprisingly, were the two best teams, or well, historically great teams, were the Yankees and the Red Sox. So Yankees in fourth last year. Do you see them kind of hanging out with the Red Sox down at the bottom, or are they kind of doing something with all that money they spent?
No, I see them vastly improving, even with Garrett Cole on the IL for 60 days, and who knows if that means longer than that when it's all said and done. The rest of their rotation is not terrible. Like Carlos Rodon didn't have a good year last year, but he's had a couple good years before he signed with the Yankees, so maybe they get him back to where he was. They bring in Marcus Stroman, who is a career like I think 2 games over 500 pitcher, but with an ERA of about 3.6 in his career.
Where do you
So
pitch, though, right?
well, last year he was in Chicago with the Cubs and he had 10 wins and they only won 83. So he's not, a fantastic pitcher, but as a 3 guy in the rotation, he's not terrible. Nestor Cortez, kind of the same situation. He's been in New York a few years, but again, a 3-4 guy in the rotation gets you probably 10 wins a year. Not terrible, but not fantastic or anything to write home about. It all kind of comes back to, does Garrett Cole come back? And if he does, is he his old self? But also, the pitching doesn't have to be that great because the offense is going to be amazing. I mean,
they're the East Coast Dodgers.
Even as we're doing this prediction for this division, because this first week has already kind of come and gone for MLB, they're 6-1 and off to a hot start. But it's all because of their offense. I mean, just look at the lineup. Just the guys I'm going to name. I'm not going to name everybody, but just off the top of my head, it's Gleyber Torres, Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Stanton, Rizzo, Verdugo, who they got from the Red Sox, who was traded for Mookie Betts, DJ LeMahieu, and the feature at shortstop, Anthony Volpe. Like, they have a lot of offense and weapons if healthy. And last year, they were kind of hanging in there until Judge got hurt with his toe and never came back. And if Judge is healthy and Stanton especially stays healthy and Soto stays on the field, because last year Soto had one of his best batting years of his career, then this lineup is super dangerous. And with that short porch in right field, I mean, Soto could hit 40, 45 home runs when it's all said and done.
Judge is up there too. He already set the record.
Oh yeah, that's right. I didn't. Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, it's just, there's a lot of things there that they have offensively that are great. And I don't see them, falling
So
to
where do you
fourth
have them
again
then?
this year. I have them getting up to second. I don't have them winning the
Okay.
division, but definitely a significant step in the right direction for this team.
All right. So I want to preface my statement with I hate the Yankees. But the Yankees are coming in first place in the AL East this year.
Whoa, big
The
jump.
Yanks squeak one out, squeak one, squeak one. When I say first place, it's not like a dominating first place, okay? It's not like this crazy, like I kind of have the Twins wrapping up the AL Central pretty quickly. No, 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 no. The AL East is going to be a lot harder. But I think the Yanks squeak one out because their roster is insane. It really is insane. From LeMahieu all the way down to Verdugo in their batting order, and you named a bunch of them in between with Soto, Judge, Rizzo, Torres, and Stanton. Who you can't walk them all. I mean,
No.
you know what I mean? Their pitching though is to me what gives them the edge over the Orioles because the Orioles do have a really really good roster as well and they're young, but their pitching isn't as deep. Now, granted, maybe I'm being hung up on the names more than anything, but if these names Garrett Cole, Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman, Clark Schmidt, and even like you, Nestor Correa, for a five, that ain't bad, dude.
Right.
Having Nestor Correa as your fifth starter, that's not terrible. That's not terrible. It does really hinge on Cole coming back strong. I know 60 days is a lot, but you just mentioned they started 6-1, so that's at least 2 starts for Cole that he should have made with Game 1 and probably Game 6 or 7 by now. And they've won, kind of without him. So I truly think they go hard. They're starting hot. I think they get a little over 100 wins this year.
Whoa, that's a big jump from
Like
last
10, like 100, maybe 101. It's not, but
still.
I think they're good, dude. I think they're really good, and their pitching is a little bit underestimated. If this all hinges on the pitching names being what they are or were. That's I know it's an if, but
I'm actually kind of shocked with the Cole news of him going on the 60-day to start that they weren't more active, maybe trying to get Blake Snell. I don't know if they were or not, but that would have made a lot more sense.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe it's not as bad as it could be with Cole, and they decided not to spend that extra money because they're still paying Cole and Stanton and Judge, and they're going to have to pay Soto next year.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. So yeah, I have them in first. You have them second. You said?
Yeah, second place.
Okay. Well, that's good. Third. Moving on. Third place last year was the Toronto Blue Jays. This one was kind of crazy because I really thought that they were going to do better, especially with a down year for the Yankees and the Red Sox.
Yeah.
But third place is kind of where they were. Where do you see them this year?
Unfortunately for them, I have them right back in third place.
Right.
I'm with you. I thought last year was their year to make that jump because they Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette and the Cavan Biggio, Dalton Varsho they added, who was a former D-back. If Springer's healthy, he's a nice bat to have and a decent outfielder. They did bring in Justin Turner, so that's a nice veteran DH guy. And, I think if I remember right, he's one of the most clutch, playoff guys in MLB history, but they got to get there for him to be able to do that. And I don't know if they're going to be able to with the Yankees and the Orioles still to talk about and the Rays still to talk about. Like there's other teams in this division that are going to be really good and competitive. I just don't know if the Blue Jays have enough pitching. Like you look at the staff, it's Kevin Gausman. Okay. Jose Barrios. Okay. Chris Bassett. Okay. But other than that, there's not a whole lot there. The lineup is good, and Turner, I think, being there is a huge bonus. But again, if his best time is October and they're not playing in October, then I don't know if it's really the best deal for them in the long run to have him there. And maybe they get off to a bad start, and he asks to hey, put me somewhere else so I can go compete in for a playoff spot, and because it's not going to happen here. I just don't see them dramatically improving, but I also don't see them falling to the bottom of the division where they're terrible.
So you have them coming in what again?
Third, right where they were last year, same spot.
Okay. Same for me. I have them coming in third as well. Vladdy Jr., though, this is my prediction. He has a revival this year and shows everybody why he was in MVP talks a few years ago and on the cover of MLB The Show. There's a reason for it. He really is that good. Down year last year. He turns it back around this year. He talked to Senior over the summer or over the winter. He kind of gave him some pointers about how, they played golf, that way they can dig out, pitches in the dirt and still hit them over the fence. And yeah, he kind of he rearranges it and does well. The top half of that lineup is really good. George Springer, Bo Bichette, Vladdy, Justin Turner, Dalton Varsho. But to your point, I don't think they're really to take on the top portion of this division. I think this team is not the best in the division. They're pitching, as you mentioned, with Kevin Gausman, Jose Barrios, Chris Bassett, average or above average, but not anything to really write home about. I think they're good. I think they come in third. Yeah,
Ooh,
they're
you
not
know
gonna
what
be able to keep up with the top two.
I just realized I don't have them in third. I'm thinking
That's
about
why
the
I asked you
teams.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
no,
was
you're
hoping.
right. I'm thinking about it now after you said. I'm like, did I say third? Like, I'm really thinking about. No, I have them in fourth because if the Yankees are jumping from fifth up and the Red Sox, I have them down at the bottom. Like, there's going to be somebody down there. Yeah, I actually have them. Maybe not dramatically changing their record, but definitely going from third to fourth. That is my
Gotcha.
bad. Good catch.
No, no worries, no worries. So I'm saying I'm coming the same because I think a different team, and we'll get there in a moment. I think the different teams are going to be switching. I think they're going to be just as average as they were last
Yeah, can't argue with that.
year. All right, moving on. So second place last year, because we know the freaking crazy 100-win Orioles were going ham. Second place last year were the Rays, Tampa Bay Rays. The notable, we don't know who's on our roster, but somehow we're going to make it to the World Series, Tampa Bay Rays.
For real.
Come in second last year. How do you have them faring this one?
Well, since I have the Yankees dramatically getting much better and getting into second, I actually have the Rays dropping down to third place.
Okay.
I'm with you though. Like I look at their roster on the pitching staff, especially. I have no idea who any of them are, and for some reason, they always end up being right there in the division and making the playoffs. I mean, they were in the World Series in 2020, although albeit shortened season, but they traded Glass now away to the Dodgers. So even one of their better pitchers they did have, they gave away because, as they typically do, they don't pay guys
Right.
big amount of money. Now
They find them.
it's not Oakland not paying guys where
Yeah,
they
no,
pay
that's a
well
little
30
different.
million like we talked about a couple episodes ago, but it's not over 100 million for sure. So getting rid of Glass now. Again, they'll, like you said, they build and draft all these young guys that pan out. So maybe they're just going to bring somebody else up that will replace him for in a cheaper option. And their offense is really good. Like you look at their lineup, and they have some nice pieces. Maybe not well known to everybody. Obviously, Randy Arozarena is pretty well known, I think, at this point. But Yandy Diaz, Brandon Lowe, Jose Siri are all very good. And if Rosarena has another, I wouldn't say winning the MVP, but in the MVP discussion kind of season that he's had, I think the last couple of years, then that means the Rays are competing and right back in a chase for the division title. Not necessarily that they're going to win it, but
Right.
they definitely could be in the running for it. So, or even just a wild card spot. Because, like, I'm with you. As good as the Rays, the Yankees, and ultimately who we're going to talk about later, the Orioles are, like, they're not going to win the division by a lot of games. I think it could be
I think
done
it's gonna be
through
close.
kind of battling it out throughout the season and then coming down to the last couple of weeks. But I think the Rays could still sneak in and get a wild card. I just don't see them finishing above the Yankees in this division and kind of getting third place.
Yeah. Yeah, I have them. I have them definitely dropping down at a second. Obviously, I have the Yankees in first and the Jays in third, which means I'm dropping the Rays down to fourth.
Ooh.
They're going to be in the running with the top four teams in this division. I think the Rays and the Jays are going to be very close. I think the other two will separate themselves. But I think this is the best division in baseball, getting close to the AL West. Obviously taking out the A's. Even with the Angels, man, I don't think they're the worst team in the league. So having those three teams at the top is similar to this one with having their big three teams at the top. The Rays, as I see it, come up short. I mean, they're going to win 80 plus games. I think they're going to, be an over 500 team, even if it's just barely. But I think they come in fourth. Randy Rosarena is amazing, but beyond that, I'm not really wowed by the Rays roster or their pitching staff. They do find hidden talent, so maybe that's something that's going to happen this year, and that's somebody that we don't know of is going to come out of nowhere and be a near borderline all star or something like that. But beyond that, I just don't see much depth to the team again, unless they just pull out the Tampa Bay surprise and just have a bunch of people I've never heard of and do well. But because they don't have that, at least not according to me, I have them coming in fourth.
Yeah, and it's weird too because you look like we mentioned their roster. They don't spend a ton of money on, but they've been to the playoffs. I think 6 years in a row. Been to and a couple of those being wild card spots, but still like having not spent a lot of money, but still being competitive. It's not like the Marlins where randomly they'll have one good year and pay nobody for it, and then trade all the good guys to get more younger and go
Yeah.
back to being bad. Like the Rays have been pretty consistently, competitive over the last 5 or 6 years, and I don't think they're completely done yet. I think they have one more run in them to at least try to get in the playoffs as a wild card.
Okay. Well, that leaves just one team left, which is the first place team. If you've been paying attention, you know where each of us has it. But if you haven't, Corey, Orioles are finishing in blank this year.
First, they are super complete as a team. I mean, last year they were just I mean, 100 wins. I thought they were like 2 years ahead of the rebuild that they were in the middle of. They won 100 games last year, which, again, winning a good amount of games getting to a wild card spot would have been nice for them. But the fact that they won 100, won the division. Now the Yankees, like you mentioned earlier, were not the same and weren't very good, and they're going to be better. But I still think overall they have the best lineup and just from top to bottom. I mean, Adley Rutschman at catcher, Mountcastle at first, Gunnar Henderson at short. Outfield, you got Cedric Mullins and Anthony Santander. Like they just have a great team. Now they did get swept by the Rangers last year in the playoffs and didn't win a game in their only round they played. But I think
No,
that
but
was
the
also a lot of young guys who hadn't been there before, and now
and the
they've
Rangers
been
won
there.
the World Series, so that's not a bad team to lose to, I guess, huh?
Absolutely. And I think, again, getting the experience to be in the playoffs in October baseball and seeing how it's a little different and what to expect, I think it's all going to make them that much better. And you also think about, too, I didn't even mention the fact that they still have this young kid, Holiday, down in the minors.
Dude, Jackson Holiday is
He was a number one pick just, 2 years ago. So the fact that he's down in the minors, which I think is a time service manipulation thing, which is
yeah, of course, yeah.
MLB does. But once they bring him up, it's like just another amazing bat to put in this lineup. And if they can stay healthy, they're going to be really good. And they didn't really change the pitching staff that much, except for the fact that they traded for Corbin Burns at the beginning of
Huge.
spring training from Milwaukee. So now they have a legit ace at the top of the rotation. Their bullpen's pretty much the same thing. They did bring Craig Kimbrell in. I don't know. He's kind of like Jansen. He'll have a good game, and then he'll have I don't know what the hell he's doing out there game. So that might come back to bite him a few times. But I just think overall, they're the most complete team in the division when you look at them now, as far as health is concerned, and every piece that they have. I know it's not as big a names as the Yankee roster when you look at the lineup, but
No, yeah.
they're damn near as good as them. I think if they're.
It's not all about names, man. There was a team out in Arizona that swept a damn near $1 billion payroll in LA. So
Yes.
I mean, it wasn't at the time, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, caused them to be spending $1 billion on 2 players.
Pretty much. Yeah, to be honest with you, this one was really kind of really impossible for me to pick, but I'm going to try to be different and just say that they lose it by like a game or two. Like, I don't think that the Yankees run away with this division at all. I'm just trying to be a little bit different with it and say, so maybe a 2-game separation. But they're a very stacked team, like you talked about. And the addition of Corbin Burns is literally the ace that they actually needed.
Yeah.
And it might be that guy, right, that sets the tone in game one, that series that they, get swept by the Rangers. Maybe he goes 7-7 scoreless. They're able to kind of string up a couple runs and like, okay, no, we can compete with these guys. It might even change the trajectory of the series. Maybe they lose still, but maybe a sweep isn't in order. So having that ace at the stop is just huge. Of course, they're looking to build on last year's 100-win season. And I'm kind of thinking they get it 100 wins again. Wow. No joke. I think the Yankees and them are going to be competing. And again, I'm thinking 104 to 102, 103 to 101. I think they're going to be very close. Adley Rutschman is, of course, amazing, and they just have a wealth of young talent that you mentioned. The person that I'd like to talk to specifically about is Jackson Holiday that you talked about. They're ready. They have a lot of big-time names. I mean, I think they have like 4 guys that all look alike that are all like top prospects. Well, one is in the pros, including Adley Rutschman. So my guess is they go toe-to-toe with New York all year. Yankees and them are going to be going back and forth. But I think the pitching depth that when Cole returns specifically is gives them that 1 or 2 game edge. Again, I think it's going to be super, super close. Similar to the Astros Rangers fight last year where it came down to really the last week. That's kind of what I'm doing. And I'm just saying Yankees take it at the end. So Orioles in second.
And also, if you think about it too, that the Orioles did all this with an ownership that talked about not wanting to spend too much or go over the $1 million mark for a certain player. They have new ownership now that has taken the reins of this team. So come the trade deadline, if they're in it, they're going to be more, willing to go out and add some pieces and things that maybe that can make them go over the top and have that opportunity to win this division for the second year in a row.
We shall see. Again, I'm not a Yankee fan. This is not me being can't stand the Yankees. It's probably one of my least favorite teams besides the Dodgers. But they put together a pretty good squad. So I think they kind of take it. So okay. So now that you kind of have the idea of where we stand in the standings, let's kind of wrap up the episode how we have the previous ones. And each of us is going to give you a headline that we think is possible to see at the end of the season for each division, whether that be a specific player, team, or the division as a whole. Corey, AL East, your headline at the end of the season is?
Orioles win 100 games for the second year in a row and win the division. So back-to-back 100-win seasons. I just their lineup is too complete and too good, and injuries are going to happen. I understand that, but even if they lose one guy for a short amount of time here and there, I think they have enough weapons across the board that it won't really affect them, and they're going to be in the running for not only just winning this division, but possibly having the best record in the AL and getting that number one playoff spot.
Okay. Now, ask the Dodgers what that means.
Yeah.
May not be that good to get that one spot, or the Braves, I guess,
That's
should
true.
be from last year.
Yeah,
but
we don't want time off. We don't want to be too good.
yeah, exactly. Okay, that's a good one. I like that, and I kind of agree with you as far as the 100 wins. That's why I think it's going to be super, super close for them.
Yeah.
But the reason why I have them coming in second place is because my headline is Aaron Judge wins his second MVP.
Oh, okay.
That injury last year, he was already ready. He was, like you mentioned, he was on a tear. He was doing well, and the injury kind of brought him and the team back down. He comes back with a vengeance this year. You're going to have to pitch to him or Soto or Stanton or. He's going to get his, especially at home in that. Bro, it's like a T-ball field in right field, to be honest with you, but it is what it is.
For real. It is, yeah, like you said, it is what it is. It is kind of crazy that it is that short, but it's always been one of those things where it's their advantage, but it's also, if you're a visiting team, you can hit
there too.
Spot, so.
Exactly. They don't move the wall back when you bat. So, yeah, Aaron Judge wins second MVP. That's my headline.
All right, nice. I like our headlines. I like our picks. A little different on this division compared to some of the other ones that were kind of can't really do much about, especially the AL Central we talked about. But with the Yankees being healthy and the Orioles being as good as they are, this could be a topsy-turvy division.
I agree. Make sure you check out the rest of our MLB prediction series where we kind of break down all of the divisions. In this episode, as you saw, we've broken down the AL East and selected our champs here. We're going to wrap up the series with the next video of the NL East division predictions. Make sure you drop a comment below and let us know what your picks are and how you kind of have the order standing out here. So that way we can kind of check back at the end of the season, see who was more right. Thank you as always for hanging out and seeing things from our view from the bench. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Corey. Like we always say, enjoy the sports until we talk again.
Peace.
This was a Sycamore Fourth Studios production.